2026 at 6 p.m. I guess please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Curley will not be here. Mayor Kleinfeld.
Here.
Councilmember Shadlick. Not yet. Councilmember Scott. Not yet.
All right, on to you.
Mrs. Hall-Rayford.
Here.
Ms. Moody.
Here.
Mr. Sasek.
Here.
Mr. Stokes. Here. Ms. Julinski here. Chairman DeHunt.
Here. All right, moving on to, I guess, approval of the agenda. Well, we don't have a quorum yet, so I guess I'll just kick it over to John for a vote.
I have support for Go Planning.
We have motion and we have support. Support by Ms. Moody, motion was by Commissioner Sasek. Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Sasek.
Yes. Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. My bad. I was so excited about Go Planning. Mrs. Moody.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall-Rayford. Mr. Stokes. Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHunt.
John, do you want to open hearing the public?
Mr. Erbil, you're up.
That's okay. I didn't have comments prepared. Okay. So I think we're all here because the master planning consultants are going to facilitate a discussion about vision and goals and objectives. Okay, good. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do that in this forum so that both the commission and the council can hear each other talk and hopefully arrive at some consensus.
Okay. Oh, I hear my microphone sounds like it's on. Does it sound okay? Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, hello and welcome, and thanks for having us here for this joint session of City Council and the Planning Commission. My name's Aaron Finley. I'm joined by Aaron Brown, and we'll hear from two of our members who are joining us virtually here in just a moment. We are here today, and thank you, Paul, for your introduction. We are here today to provide an update at this joint session, to give an update on kind of where we are in our master plan and economic development strategic plan process. We were here, last in person in October, where we held some focus groups in this room, and we also did some open houses. We have been collecting research and data and hosting interviews. Since then, all of those are ongoing. I guess we'll talk about those. We probably have a slide about that, so I'm probably getting out ahead of myself here. Once we give a kind of an update on some of our findings, once we give an update on kind of some of our findings, we'll give you just a little bit of an overview of some of the data that we've collected, some of the things that that data is saying to us. Some of those are high-level findings. Everybody in here is very familiar with the city. You might find some of those to be, something you're already familiar with, but we do want to kind of connect some of the data, some of our qualitative and quantitative findings and analysis to those. So we're going to go through that a little bit, just give you kind of an update on where we've been and what we've put together. And then we are going to do a little bit of a visioning session. We'll talk a little bit more about as we get there, but one of the things that we have found is absolutely critical when we think about planning, long-term planning, creating a master plan or any strategic plan, that we want to make sure not only that everybody's kind of on board with the work we're doing, but there is actually some buy-in, some consensus to this. So that's why we're here. We really want to hear from you all as leaders in this community, in this city. Where are the things that you really want to prioritize, we want to focus on as we think about strategic planning and master planning, and hopefully, obviously, building out of that, having an opportunity to maybe arrive at consensus, we all hope, but then also understanding that since this is coming from people in this room, that hopefully you can actually be some of the champions to help us move forward, create something that's implementable, and make sure the plans that we're working on, hopefully can come to fruition. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and move forward, and I'll introduce myself again. Sorry, my name is Aaron Finley. I'm the co-founder and CEO of 300 Block Consulting. This is Aaron Brown. We co-founded that together. We are also working with our friends at TPMA and Perkins and Will. And with that, I actually think we're going to try to bring them up and see if they can just say hello and give a quick introduction. There's Aaron, Eric, Brett, can you hear me? There we go. Eric, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick introduction to the room.
Hey, Aaron, we can't hear anything. I don't know if we're supposed to hear anything.
Okay, well, we can hear you. That's Brett. Brett is the Vice President of Economic Development at TPMA. We've worked with Brett for a number of years. Above him on the screen is Eric Dorer, planner from Perkins and Will. They've been helping us throughout the process. They weren't able to be here, but all four of us will be here for our next event, which looks like it's going to be April. We'll get back to that. And if there are any questions as we kind of wrap up the finding before we move into our visioning session, hopefully Brett and Eric will be able to hear us at that time and be able to, oh, we can hear now. Very good. So they'll be available to answer any questions as we kind of wrap up the first half of our presentation today. Did you guys want to give a quick introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Dorer. It's great to be here. Apologies for not being able to be here in person. I'm sure Aaron has given an introduction, but I'm the planner and urban designer on the team with a background in working with municipalities and private developers on mixed use redevelopment types of planning exercises. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Brett?
Yep, thanks, Aaron. Brett Weiler, I'm Vice President of Economic Development, serving as the strategic advisor on this project. I specialize in business retention and expansion, business attraction strategies, entrepreneurial ecosystem building, workforce development strategies, and have led a number of projects across the country and quite a few projects in the state of Michigan. And so apologize I can't be there in person. We'll be there next month, I believe, to hopefully meet some folks in person. And so, yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll go ahead and take you off the screen and go back to our deck here. Okay, and I'll hand it over to Aaron.
So now that we've already, gone through this, so just kind of to map out where we've been. So we launched in May. We were here for site visits in September. As part of that, like Aaron said, we hosted some focus groups and 2 community open houses. We also have conducted a community survey, and then, like I said, those stakeholder workshops. Right now, we are in the process, it's continuing to be ongoing, of doing subject matter interviews, and then as well as, again, ongoing data collection. We had hoped to wrap the data collection up a little bit earlier, but there were some census issues, and so a lot of that data didn't come out until late January. So wanted to make sure we had the most up-to-date information as possible. So then what's next? Again, continuing those subject matter expert interviews. We have a survey for business owners that is open and still in the field. And then, as Aaron alluded to, we will be back in April for another round of open houses, as well as hosting a focus group for business leaders in the community.
Thanks for the question, John. We are working on finalizing them. It will look right now like late April. We are, don't want to give you the exact, I mean, we're looking at late April right now. We hope to confirm those just in the next couple of days. We want to make sure that the locations are available and we can get everything locked down before we do that, but that's the intention.
It's okay, you push my buttons all the time.
It's still on.
Great.
And so now we just kind of, before building towards this visioning session, we wanted to just do a little bit of an overview of kind of what we've learned, what we've heard. So again, these are high level. This is not everything that we have. In fact, I think the other day I sent to Brett a 30-page report of just economic development related data. So obviously we can't cover that in this session tonight. So just high level findings and, you know, just to kind of all ground ourselves in kind of the same understanding. So just starting off pretty broad here, you know, after an extended period of population loss, the population and home values are stabilizing. You can obviously see here following that housing bubble collapse, that drop in home value, and then kind of steady gains throughout both East Point, Macomb County, and the Detroit metro area. And so as we kind of enter this period of rising housing prices, as well as, you know, hopefully increasing population, it's an important time to hold on to what defines East Point now, and also an opportunity to think about who we want to be in the future. Looking at the resident workforce, so workers who live in East Point, it's primarily composed of folks who are employed in lower wage occupations. So right, this may be reflective of, we can see this reflected in the median household income, the median earnings. And this is, you know, reflective of the types of jobs that are available locally and in the region, workforce training, educational attainment. And so as we think about moving forward, right, we want to think about high quality job opportunities for residents, workforce development to support wage growth, and career pathways. And so moving forward, that East Point's largely a bedroom community with net negative commuting numbers and a limited local industry mix. You can see here that over 80% of East Point residents leave the city for work. There's about 8,000 jobs in the city itself. And then something that we found that was interesting is that in the city, about 20% of jobs are, you know, within teaching, childcare workers, or education administrators. And this is reflected in that industry mix that you see here off to the right. Here, government does include that public education, so that's kind of why that's one of those larger sectors. But pretty limited in the kind of types of industry. And then looking at the housing mix, it's primarily consists of single-family homes that are more than 50 years old, many of which are showing signs of deterioration. So, you know, older housing stock is common in many of the communities that we work in, but it can create challenges when it comes to like maintenance and housing quality. This perceived housing quality graphic on the right is from the community survey that we administered here, and you can see that, let's see, math on the fly, I should not be allowed to do. We are looking at 70%, between 70 and 75% of folks that rated the housing quality in the city as fair or poor. And so, you know, while we do have that older housing stock, that existing housing stock is an important part of the city's character. What we've heard time and time again from the open houses, the focus groups, the survey, you know, the brick homes is kind of one of those defining factors that kind of came up again and again and again. And then I'm going to turn this over to Aaron for the next one.
Thank you, Aaron. So again, this is a kind of a collection of data. Some of the data we kind of packaged up and sent out, and we can make some of these available. We've just kind of repackaged them here, as you can see, and kind of under these kind of headings, I guess, of statements that we've kind of learned. So one of the things that really kind of jumps out and is really important is that East Point still offers a relatively high level of housing affordability for the region. As you can see, and then particularly for homeowners, and we're going to take a look at that in a second, all that is kind of a major factor for a lot of residents' decision to live here. As you can see, when we asked community members to complete our survey, the most common response for reasons you live in East Point is housing affordability. It's really important to make sure we keep an eye on that. It's a balance. I remember, John, when we talked last time we were here, and actually throughout the process, as we see some of the home values kind of continue to rise and return back to a place and hopefully even improved on maybe some of the, just kind of the way home values were prior to the housing market crash, we see that improvement is good, but we also want to make sure as we move forward that things don't start to flip in the other direction and become unaffordable. And this is a really kind of important thing, especially as we think about attracting new residents potentially to East Point, maintaining an eye on some level of affordability as an important attraction, something to keep in mind. Other things that were among the top reasons why people live in East Point, the location within the Detroit metro area, but also I think these next two, the near friends and family and grew up in the area. As we've talked to people, we held open houses, we had people come talk to us. A lot of people had a real strong sense of pride in the community, and in a lot of cases really felt like East Point was home. In some cases, generations of families continue to live here. And so really that sense of community and real sense of pride is important. So when we look still on the other side of the screen here, we can see that median sale price is considerably lower than the median sale price as a county as a whole, and that kind of references the housing affordability. But what's really kind of important to look at here, as we looked at the census is still estimating about 70% of households are owner-occupied, leaving about 30% to be renter-occupied. The renter-occupied households are facing a significantly different challenge when it comes to housing affordability than those owner-occupied households. So just real quickly, does everybody know what cost burden means? If not, I'd be happy to give a quick definition. Cost burden is a term put forward by HUD that establishes a 30% threshold. Households that spend more than 30% of their household income on housing costs. Now, housing costs doesn't just mean your rent or mortgage. It could mean insurance, taxes, utilities. Thank you, Aaron. So it's not just your mortgage or your rent. All of those housing costs added together, if they equal more than 30% of the household's income, that household is considered to be cost burdened, which means that their ability to pay for other essentials, such as transportation, clothing, food, or maybe education in some cases, are going to be impacted by the level of, by how much of their income is being taken up by housing costs. So that's what cost burden means. And you can see the difference. Owner-occupied households, it's a little over 1/5 of owner-occupied households, over 20% of East Point households considered cost burden. But when you look at those renter-occupied households, it's over 50. Over half of all rent households are exceeding that 30% threshold. And then when you move over to this extremely cost burden, that threshold is established at 50%. So while only about 12% of owner-occupied households are spending more than half of their household income on housing costs, it's almost 30% for the renter-occupied households. So it's important to kind of think about how these different households in the community are being impacted by housing costs as well. When we look here at the comparison between what we heard in our survey, our community survey, and the existing kind of business mix. So these are on the, it's this side of the screen, right or left, depending on how I'm looking at it. These are the existing businesses here in East Point right now. The highest number is in the healthcare and social assistance area, food services and drinking places, professional science, technology services, personal and laundry services, construction, and going down the list. As you look here, retail would be a larger one, but we kind of separated that out into subgroups. So you'll see here retail for sporting goods, clothing and accessories, motor vehicle, food and beverage stores, and general merchandise has been all split out, and health and personal care as well. So that's what the existing business mix looks like. When we asked residents, what would your desired type of businesses, new businesses coming to the area would be, you can see the answers here. So in the gray, those are the number of people who voted and said that they oppose that type of business. And in the kind of gold there, those are the number of people who supported that type of business in the community. Number one, of course, you see is restaurant and sit down, which as food services and drinking places, we have a lot of them. People want more. Entertainment venues had a little bit more of a split. There were 84 people who said they were interested in that. 20 said they opposed it. And then, of course, but you see arts, entertainment, and recreation down here at 1.3% of your existing businesses. So a little bit of a discrepancy there. Other business types that people were heavily in support of, small-scale manufacturing. Sometimes, what's a good definition? How do you say small-scale manufacturing? You have a fun, catchy handbags.
Hot sauce, handbags, and hardware.
Thank you, Ian. Hot sauce, handbags, and hardware. People with things that typically maybe are making in their homes or making kind of even in their retail locations. And then independent retail stores. Both of those kind of speak to a kind of retail or business that really comes, from the community itself. We also put together kind of a mini SWOT here, if you will, as we collected all the information from our open houses, from the survey, from some of the interviews we've been having, from the focus groups that we held here just in this room. A couple of strengths, weaknesses, and then opportunities. The location in the Detroit metro area, again, you'll see a lot of this reflected in some of the stuff we've already shown. Access to transportation networks, recent community improvements. I know when we kind of first started the process, putting this together, we saw a lot of energy, right, from city staff we were talking to about some of the grant money, some of the infrastructure development, some exciting things happening around the city. We heard that from residents and community members as well. An updated zoning code. We just had a lot of opportunity to speak to some of the people involved in the recent zoning code update. Housing affordability, as we mentioned, and community character. On the other side of things, some local funding, relatively limited land for new development. So what we see is, somewhat built out area, or at least that's something we heard quite a bit about. The schools, the property conditions, as we just kind of mentioned, those lower household incomes, educational attainment, and a somewhat limited industry mix as well. But we're also looking at those opportunities for moving forward where there are kind of things that are ripe for possible improvement. There has been some state and federal funding initiatives. There are infill and redevelopment opportunities as we look around the city. Also regional partnerships and collaboration. There has been a lot of good energy, and we've been talking to some of the regional partners as well. The commercial corridors, a lot of excitement and kind of opportunities to continue to build some of those up. Facade improvement, housing preservation efforts, and then also that growth, potential growth of a regional transportation network are on our list of opportunities there. And finally, as we kind of wrap up a little bit of our findings, our early findings here, we're going to be doing some visioning here in just a moment, but one of the things we've been talking quite a bit about trying to establish that vision, trying to pull out from people what it is they would like to see in this community so that continues on some of the successes, but also as we think about vision for the future. Community members expressed a vision for an East Point that is safe, sound, and poised for growth, in which strong schools, affordability, infrastructure, and housing options are in a position to attract a new generation of businesses, young professionals, and families. And I think this last part is really what we've heard quite a bit about, trying to position East Point where it's an attractive place for people to come, We want to make sure it's an attractive and great place for people who are here already, of course, but also as we think about bringing in new businesses, bringing in maybe young families, young professionals, and the kind of next generation of East Point residents, and making sure that we're in a good position to continue to be attractive as we continue to look to build population, for example. So some of the top 5 investment priorities when we asked in our survey, public safety and emergency services came in the most common as the top investment, but also water and sewer infrastructure, public schools, parks, recreation and green space, and road improvements. On the other side of the screen, you'll kind of see these word bubbles, right? As we did the surveys, as we ran our focus groups and had the open house, these are some of the responses when we asked people about their kind of vision for the future. So just a couple of highlights here, and again, hopefully you'll see these repeated in some of the vision statement we just stated, but also some of the findings that we've already been through. Diverse housing types, increased home ownership, mixed use development, young professionals and family. Those came from our housing focus group. I know some of you were here for that. Also, some of you were here for our economic development focus group. We heard about walkability, schools, economic growth, community involvement. You see young professionals and families there as well, and home ownership, so a little tie in between those. And then we think about the results from our open house vision. A lot of people want to talk about safety. Education there appears as well. That desirable place to live, right? That ability to kind of be a great place for the people here, but also that people would desire and be attracted to come here. So that is all, and we're going to think here about a visioning activity coming up, but I did want to open up the floor if there are any questions about some of the findings we had, any of the data we presented, or if there's more that you'd like to see that maybe we didn't touch on. Again, understanding this is just kind of a high-level overview of some of the findings. Yes, please, Mary.
Press the button.
Okay. I did not see a specified category for retired or senior households.
Okay.
Do you have any data on that?
We have data. I don't have it in front of me, but that's definitely one of the things that we've been pulling information on. What specifically do you want to say about seniors or retirement opportunities or senior housing?
Primarily, how many seniors are in homes alone?
Okay.
Because I think it's important that we know what some accommodations may be needed. What did I say? What kind of accommodations seniors might need, especially if they're living alone?
Sure.
Because we've already noted some things like whether or not people are able to keep up their yards and that type of thing, and some of them are living alone and they don't have the resources to pay someone, or they're not able to do it. I think primarily we need to be able to look out for our seniors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Mary. I think one of the things is we do quite a bit of housing work as well. One of the things that I always like to talk about, and I won't maybe bore you all with it today, is what we call the housing life cycle, and making sure there's housing types available that cover a variety of needs. And part of that is really making sure that as we think about downsizing or retiring seniors, that there are options, either because maybe their existing home maintenance can become an issue, things like that, especially as we think about an older housing stock. We want to make sure that there's maybe resources available, but also options, right, for people to age in place and do so safely. And so thanks for bringing that up. Again, it's not part of a presentation today, but that's certainly something we can make sure that we're going to be touching on, especially as we continue to put more information together for you on that.
To dovetail off of what Commissioner Rayford said in respect to senior housing or just services for seniors, years ago, pre-financial collapse, we had a very active and robust senior community. Then the housing bust blew up, and the seniors were the first ones that were pretty much screwed. The destruction and the erosion of the churches has created another loss of checks, shall we say, for seniors, because we had a very vibrant church community where if so-and-so wasn't in their pew on a Sunday morning, people were checking. So there have been consistent hits to our senior community. And my concern is, and having lived with the senior for a very long time, we used to have grocery stores that you could walk to with a little cart and you can get some groceries. We don't have that. We have lost all of that. You can go to a dollar store and get a couple of pops for a couple of bucks, but you can't get decent food. We have very poor options for our seniors, and I really believe that, you know, I understand that we need to focus on the young and we need to focus on the future, blah, blah, blah. But we have a group of individuals that have made this city, have paid their taxes dutifully for decades, and we owe a responsibility to them as well. So I do want to dovetail off of what Commissioner Rafer said.
Thank you, absolutely. And I think that's absolutely critical. And that's why throughout this process, we don't just necessarily want to think about just, you know, who we're attracting, how we're bringing young families, all that in the community, but also really focusing on what is here. That so much about the community that you talk about is what makes everybody, you know, is a really important part for a lot of the community members that are here. And we don't want to look past that in any way. I think that's really important for you to bring up.
So I'll dovetail off of both of them. Just so, yes, John is correct too. Like the neighborhood grocery stores were the best. Well, I'm not sure if those are a thing of the past, but I do know, and I'll compare it to downtown Detroit, all the neighborhoods are putting up, they put in grocery stores and make it definitely a walkable area to get your needs. As far as services, Macomb County does have a plethora of services for seniors. I know this because I just printed the list out for myself. And guess what? You only have to be 60 to be a senior. Well, thanks. That's what I think too, but just, you know, for the future, just want to be prepared. So there's that too, that I think not necessarily that we need to provide those services, but let them know if they don't know, the county provides a lot of that. But for amenities, for grocery, you know, we used to have Rite Aid, we have CVS, but yes, more of the neighborhood things would be great.
If I may, oh, sorry.
When you were going through your PowerPoint there, you spent a few minutes on the cost burden. And you were saying 30% of the household, if they're spending 30% of their income, then they're pretty much in a very precarious situation. What weight does those numbers, those particular numbers play, or I use the word play. What weight does those particular numbers have to do with the master plan? How are you going to utilize that to do anything focus-wise with the master plan?
So it's a great question. I think housing is definitely one of the things that, you know, one of the major components that we want to look at. And of course, understanding the kind of existing level of affordability. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is that we heard a lot about how East Point is affordable. We spoke to somebody who was looking to purchase a home, and they're saying East Point's one of the few places where they, you know, might be able to make that commitment, make that happen for them. And that's really important. And so but what we don't want to hear is that, oh, East Point is already affordable and therefore there's not an affordability challenge here. So when we look at the renter-occupied households really facing an affordability challenge, I mean, there are a number of ways that we might want to look at that, you know, what we might want to do with that. It's, you know, it can be challenging. There's a lot of different ways we want to think about it. But I do think that, you know, we have a lot of single-family homes, for example. If part of the problem for the renter-occupied households is that there aren't that many rental options or multifamily options, maybe that's something we would want to look into. I'm not necessarily saying that at this point that's, you know, going to be a recommendation that comes out of this, but those are some of the ways that we might want to think about identifying some of the challenges with renter-occupied households, the affordability challenges there, and try to see where there are opportunities to maybe lighten some of that burden. I don't know if that answers your question directly necessarily, but you know, the first part of it is I want to make sure we understand that while, the 22.8% and the 12.2%, again, relatively low numbers, and there's a lot of nuance that goes into some of those, but that we're not overlooking where there might be some affordability challenges here in the city.
If I may, the cost burden and extremely cost burden figures, would you could be able to just break the, kind of based on some of the questions that were here, break out that demographic and identify how many in that subsection are seniors?
I'm trying to envision my ACS census data right now. I know we can look at it by tenure, by income. I'm not sure if it's by age, but certainly that would be something that we can look into. There are, I think, so I don't know off the top of my head, but definitely something, I think, especially with the senior conversation tonight, for us to double check. And even if it's not a cost burden, like kind of what other metrics can we look at to understand that issue better?
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Ms. Moody. Does anybody else have any other questions? Moving on, let's do your exercise.
All right, let's do it. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning here, one of the things that we find is that all of these planning and all these documents and all these plans are great, but it's really important that what we're trying to put together here is something that, has impact, is implemented, is implementable. Part of that is really starting with the group of people we're talking to right now. Understanding what the priorities are, what the vision for the future is. We need to make sure that the plans that we're putting together are in line with those, with what the leaders of the community want to see, and where there are areas of consensus, where there are areas of kind of shared priorities, because frankly, a lot of you are going to have to be the ones who, really start to champion some of these opportunities to make them happen, to really start to push these forward. So we wanted to spend some time while we have you here to try to pull out a little bit more about what some of your priorities are for this community looking forward, moving forward. So as we think about planning for the future, we really want to think about that vision, try to establish what it is that is important to you all here in the room today.
Can I just interject something?
Yes, please.
And I'm sorry, this is probably just me, but when you keep saying that it's the leaders, what they want to see for the city, I have to tend to disagree a little bit with that, a lot of bit with that, because it's about the residents and what they want to see in their community. And that's why we get their input, and that's why we listen to them, and then we try to put it forth and make it. I just don't agree with the saying what you leaders want. I'm sorry, that's just.
It's okay, and I appreciate the distinction. I think a couple of things. One, those residents have elected, some of you in this room, I know, some of us commission members, appointed positions and things like that. But I'll say this, we've seen many situations in which these plans are put together and they, they have maybe really great ideas that the consultants wanted in there or something like that, and everybody said, yeah, this looks pretty good, this looks pretty good, and then, it's a year or two down the line and we're going through the plan, and then there's something in there that everyone was kind of like, I didn't love that part of it, or something like that. And there's not a lot of momentum or really desire to kind of push forward and continue to see some of those things happen. You're 100% right. And that's why we want to be here for the open house, why we want to have the survey. We want to have these conversations. We're talking to stakeholders, people, residents, people who are going to be living a lot of what we're talking about here. And those are the priorities. They're absolutely important. But we have seen scenarios in which we sometimes meet some stumbling blocks at the time where it comes down to really get it done, because, either council changes over or something like this. And so we do want to make sure that it is the residents, it is the community, but it's also leadership who are going to have, in some cases, a little bit more to say about what actually gets across the finish line. So I don't want to minimize in any way the level of importance for the vision for the community members. And, and we hope that we're also spending lots of time collecting that information as well and building from that, because that is the really critical piece of this.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
With the surveys that you're doing, and when you to get this data together, and of course, we're always starting out with the number of 100, so we're looking at 100%. And I'm looking at the numbers that you have here in what we have. Let's digress away from the percentage. What was the number of individuals that responded with the surveys?
188.
188 residents out of the city of East Point, and we're using those numbers to develop this. 188 out of 34,000?
Aaron, if I may, that is one of the issues that we've had. Now, that is more than double the responses that were had for the 2019 master plan, but getting people to come forward, and I give, the team a kudos for getting that many people to actually respond, but, I mean, they've had trouble now. They've been trying to set up virtual meetings, and the only ones they've heard from are our current planner and 2 former planners. Right. So this is, yeah.
So, because before I make my comment, we have exactly 17 minutes in this session, so I fear we're going to go a little bit long. But Mr. Urbiel said that our meeting should be relatively expeditious, so if you guys are okay, we'll push through this and then we'll go into our meeting. Having said that, to everyone's point here that has made it into yours, Sheila and I were on the last master plan, and I still suffer PTSD from that long, painful process that every council ignored because it was a document that needed to be done required by the state. Nothing was done with it. And I don't want to see us spin our wheels again and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though I'm sure that you guys like to actually be able to make a living. But it needs to be involved. And we have one person in the audience, one out of 33,000 people. This community is not engaged. I don't know what it takes to bring people to the table. Maybe they are all busy being keyboard gangsters on the residents group complaining about everything. I don't know. But we have one resident, and this meeting has been posted for how long? So
We just have to take the time to be more creative to get the residents out. We just can't assume that they're looking at the City of East Point website, or we just can't assume that they're listening to their next door neighbor. We have to be creative to bring them out to something like this. We need to have a citywide fix, something. We should not want to just sit back and say there's 188 people out of 34,000, and then we make the final decision. It's just not acceptable. I mean, we are compelled to find a strategy how to involve the community. We just can't just sit back and not do anything. We can't sit back and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for something like this, and that's going to affect our community 15, 20 years down the road. I mean, my children, my grandchildren, well, my grandchildren, not my adult children, this is going to affect them. So we are, as elected officials, as volunteers on a commission, we are compelled to develop something to bring the people out, to hear them. if we incorporate it in a Memorial Day parade, if we incorporate it in a Juneteenth celebration, if we incorporate it in Women's Month, the month for celebrating women, we have to do something. We just should not sit back and say, oh, it was 188 people, and then we're just going to move forward. That's not acceptable to me.
So my idea before was the good old-fashioned boots on the ground, door to door. Like, people used to when they campaigned, and, people's lives are busy now. And John, I don't want to go on a soapbox because I know we got to move along. But that's it. People are busy, lives are busy. The keyboard people are not worth me mentioning because that's a whole different ballgame and story. If you can't be positive, then don't say anything. But boots on the ground and going door to door, the events are great too, but we did that at a Gratiot cruise. And I don't remember, did we get a lot of response when we did the boards at the cruise, Kim?
Not as much as we had hoped.
Yeah. So, and I know that's a lot of work, but if you want to be engaged, I find, stand at the grocery stores like the Girl Scouts do with the cookies.
Absolutely. Anything. We just have to think of something. Even like what you said, boots on the grounds. Just make event that we're working together, because it's obvious that they are not, our residents are not paying attention to certain things. We see that now, and we know that. So now we have to turn the table and do something different.
Councilman Baker's got a question. And then let's go over here to Commissioner Rayford and Commissioner Stokes.
No, just briefly. I think that's a bigger problem than what we're here for today. I think that's another conversation, and because ultimately you have to know the why someone is not engaging or coming out or participating. And we can speculate, but I think that for the sake of time, and I know you guys have another meeting, and I know city administrations has been here, I think that's a conversation. It's a necessary conversation, but I do think that it's a conversation that's going to take longer than the amount of time we have today.
One of the things I was going to add to that conversation is the fact that there are a number of residents who care, but they don't think leadership is listening. I don't know how we change that imagery, because if they don't think anyone is paying attention to them, they don't have anything to say. So we actually have to find a way to get an understanding between the residents and the elected leadership. I'm putting myself out there as a volunteer because I get questions all the time from people. And I don't have all the answers, so I necessarily have to contact others. But there are so many people saying, why do we have a city council when they don't pay attention to us? We can't answer that tonight, but I'm simply saying that needs to be one of the strategies we use to approach getting residents involved. They have to know that someone's going to pay attention to them.
One more thing, then I'm going to be done. But I support everything that Ms. Ulinski is saying and Mr. Councilmember Baker is saying, that this is a larger fish to fry. And it still goes back to the fact that we are responsible to be creative, to find a way. So it possibly need to start with the very beginning to figure out or understand the why. And once we understand the why, then we can address the issues to make it better.
So I do want to say, just quickly, and then I want to move on. It depends.
I do have one comment, though. I was just being polite.
Please.
So just to keep it brief, I don't know the statistics off the top of mind, but I do know that Google has studied marketing for all forms, and it typically takes 7 to 8 touch points for people in their busy lives to actually take whatever your marketing might be and actually have it, be a focus in their life too. So if we put out one flyer, one door knock, that's not enough. It would have to be 7 or 8 on average.
Yeah, I thank you. I do want to say, I do want to give, in defense of city staff who did a really fantastic job working to circulate this. We were monitoring responses. We also wanted to take a look at some of those demographics of the responses and find where there were some holes, where we maybe weren't seeing representation we wanted, and then we would think about what is a good way. We actually reached out to some church leaders to try to get some, other avenues other than just kind of like Facebook posts or something like that, to try to get some of the information out there. We held the survey open a little bit longer than we initially intended to, had a couple rounds of trying to push this out. It is difficult. Admittedly, I think, I do a lot of this surveying as part of my job, and sometimes I get emails asking me to complete a survey, and I think, I don't have time for that right now, right? So I think we understand some of it, but I think we also want to make sure that we are hearing voices from the community. It is a challenge, and so I appreciate your concern, commissioners and city councilors, on that front. But I do want to get to our visioning activity really quickly here. We'll try to move through this a little bit. So here's what we've set up. We identified kind of 5 focus areas, if you will. You're likely to see some of these as major subheadings in the master plan, in the economic development strategic plan, which we're working on right now. So the 5 we have here are housing, business and industry, transportation and mobility, environment and natural resources, and commercial corridors. So in those 5 areas, what we're asking you to do, and if those of you who were here for our focus groups will remember this kind of individual group work kind of activity. So first off, individually, we'll give you just a few minutes. What we'd like you to do for each one of these 5 areas, individually, we'd like this sentence for us. So for housing, for example, we will prioritize, and then here, kind of a task, an area, something that you individually within housing in this example want to see prioritized, and then give us a little rationale. Why? What's the because? Why is that your priority? So for each of the 5 areas, again, just as an example, if we're looking at housing, we will prioritize a diversity of housing choices. And because it's important to have, all options for the housing life cycle for seniors who are downsizing, want to leave in place, for just as an example. So 1 sentence for each of the 5. Well, we do want to move a little bit quickly, but really would love to get these. Please write them on your sheets, because we would like to collect those as well, so we can take this information home with us when we leave, and can work it into the rest of the continuing to work on this plan. Any questions before I give you a couple minutes to complete your sentences? Yeah, does anybody need a pen? Commissioner, was there a question I can answer for you? Sure, no, not at all. That's why I asked if there are any questions. So what we want to know is from a member of the Planning Commission, for each of these areas, what part of these major topics, these big umbrellas, what's one of the more important things within that to you? I'd be happy to turn this off and we could talk about it if that would be helpful. But, really anything that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong answer here. We're just very curious to know what your priorities are. go too long here. Okay. Now, what we'd like you to do is actually, we want to go around and hear, and I want to make sure that we're doing this so everybody can kind of hear what your thoughts are on this. It's not just us who gets to read it. Hopefully, it'll kind of maybe inspire some Commissioner Ulinski, would you mind sharing 2 or 3 of your sentences, please?
So for me, I don't know, off the cuff for housing, it was cleaning up the blight. And, you know, my big thing for housing city, everything is curb appeal, to bring back pride to the city and to the people. Do you want me to go down the list?
Yeah, just one more, please.
For business and industry, just being business friendly and having businesses engage more in the community to bring out goodwill. And honestly, goodwill makes customers return.
Yeah, great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, if you wouldn't mind picking 1 or 2 of your sentences, please, to share with us. And yeah, please remember to press the button so we can hear you.
All right, I'm going to drop right to the bottom with the commercial corridors. I put facade uniformity, such as colors, materials. I believe it makes it more attractive for customers or potential customers. I think a uniformity, it doesn't have to be 100% identical or cookie cutter, but I think simple things like the colors that you choose, like where some business areas will use like a medium or light shade of gray, and there may be variations of it, but I think it looks more attractive and more appealing, and it may encourage people to take a look at, to notice it, and then potentially come and utilize whatever businesses or things that exist in that area.
Great, thanks. Do you mind doing one more for us, please?
Absolutely. For environment and natural resources, I did just simply park improvements. I think it's good for mental health and good for respiratory health. And I just did a kind of a broad thing, but park improvements could be planting of trees. It could be bringing amenities to the parks for the demographics of the neighborhood. So for instance, if you have a neighborhood that has a lot of children, you may want to bring slides, swings, and so forth and so on. If you have more adults of a certain age, then you may want to focus on things where they can sit and enjoy just some of the green space, the trees, the gardens, potentially a bioswale, depending on what you bring to that particular park. So I think just for mental health, because sometimes it's calming. A lot of people like to go out and just kind of touch nature. But I think with more trees, that's also good for your respiratory health too.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
Better nudge that Parks Commissioner next to you.
And representing the Parks Commission here, Commissioner Sasek, if you wouldn't mind reading out 1 or 2 of yours, please. I guess I have. Well, you do, actually. Thank you.
So under transportation, I was more concerned with utilizing transportation to accommodate the needs of an aging and mobility challenged community. We have had issues in the past with residents that can't get around as easily. And under housing also, I feel that we really need to start looking at owner and rental properties that are, for whatever reason, sitting vacant, and that would help with a lot of housing for other people as well, and it would also make the community look a lot better.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Moody, if you could read, we're actually just one, just that way we can keep moving, because we do have a little bit of a group activity. We'll have another, you know what, you can do all 5 if you want, but just generally we want to keep things moving.
The business industry. I was holding it. I said that we would be creatively bringing entertainment into the city, because the statistics have shown that this era of our young people, these, today, they gravitate toward entertainment, and that could be a plus for the city with reference to socialization and growth within the benefits of the city.
Thank you so much. Councilmember?
For transportation and mobility, I stated that we will prioritize safety because it will increase people's willingness to travel here and want to bring their vehicles into our city.
Thank you so much. Commissioner?
For housing, I had upkeep of properties through efficient administration of city code enforcement and building departments, because home values, community health, et cetera, are dependent on good housing stock.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
What I have written has already been said, so I see no need to repeat it.
So I did something, so I did transportation and mobility. I said ease of access to busing, because a bus is better circulation for its residents, and it provides dignity and respect to people so they can get to their jobs and get to homes.
Great, thank you. Oh, yes, sorry. Mayor, please.
For housing, I wrote prioritize accessibility to homeownership, because we want residents to put down roots here and it to be a good investment for them.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So then what we actually like to do is kind of group you together here, because, and I want you to kind of, so find a partner, maybe we'll do groups of 3. So the 3 of you could maybe work together, please. The 3 of you, please work together. And then the 3 of you, I know you just came in late. Dr. Naylor, they'll get you caught up. Wonderful, thank you so much. You know, I was at a focus group once where somebody really wanted to make sure that we were working together and reading out and hearing what other people had to say. Well, that's fair, it gave you lots of room. If you'd like to mix your teams up, by all means. I mean, I don't necessarily want to limit your creativity here. But I'd like to do. We've heard enough from Paul. So the 3 of you here, the 3 of you here, and the 3 of you, does that sound good? Okay, wonderful. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to share your 5 sentences with the group, talk about them, and then what I want you to do as a group, I actually want you to pick the top 1 priority that your group has among the 15 probably sentences you have. If you can't just pick one, because you know, we want to make sure we get 2 out there, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But we're talking about prioritization here. We want you to identify as a group what your top 1 priority is, and then we'd like to kind of talk about that. You do, I think, have more of a worksheet for that, if I'm remembering correctly. Wonderful. And if you do want to come up with a whole new one together, that would be fine too. But we want to see about prioritization here. So please give you a couple minutes to talk amongst yourselves. in the interest, because I do know we have other items on the agenda today, we'll just do one more minute. So if we can hopefully kind of get to that top priority in your group in 1 minute, please. Okay, I'm really glad to see all the really great conversations that are happening, but I do want to go around the room quickly and hear what some of you came up with. We started here last time. I'll start over with this group, please.
Shoot. To promote diversity in the housing stock, affordable housing stock, and to foster a stock for home ownership to keep seniors aging in place. And I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. and to encourage home ownership versus renting.
Thank you. So to focus on diversity of housing stock and ownership are your two top priorities. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, I didn't mean if we skipped you a couple of times, but I didn't know if you had a chance to discuss your top priorities. If you wouldn't mind, please.
We chatted about housing. Well, my thing I had already mentioned, home ownership, taking care of our current housing and maybe seeking out resources to help those who are financially strapped keep their, homes up to snuff. I don't know, are you going through all categories or?
That's great. Just want to hear kind of a top priority. I don't know, Mr. State Attorney, did you have another one?
We also talked about business and industry and just the untapped potential of the Kelly Road corridor between, say, 9 Mile Road and 8 Mile Road, and all of the, the possibilities and potential that could go in there as far as restaurants and repurposing and reestablishing some of the commercial areas in there.
Give too much of a spoiler, but we're definitely keeping a we're very interested in Kelly Road corridor.
I think it has a lot of potential.
For sure. We were just reviewing and having conversations about the Kelly Road plan, the corridor plan. Those put together not that long ago.
Should look at the 2019 master plan when we talked about it.
Well, of course, I've looked at the 2019 master plan. Thank you so much. Please, this group here would love to hear some of your priorities.
We spent not the majority of our time speaking about the businesses and industry, that we see the need to bring in additional businesses within the city because we were comparing it to places like Warren and Frazier. Warren, there's the hospital there, their businesses are there. We don't have anything like that here in the city of East Point. So we would begin to prioritize a way of bringing businesses into the city under the business and industry category.
Great, business attraction efforts, wonderful. Thank you so much. And this group here?
Improve the presence of our commercial corridors so they're more inviting, so people want to come and do shopping in our community, whether that be improved streetscapes, streetscaping, as well as facades, awnings, or some kind of coloration, so there's some uniformity. It looks like a district, kind of how 9 Mile looks south of Gratiot, that whole strip mall, and all the variations of restaurants and places to go. We feel that would be more inviting for people if there was another space, whether it's on Kelly or whether it's on, further down on 9 Mile or going north of Gratiot. We see those areas where he's like, oh, I want to go over there, I want to eat, I want to dine, is inviting. Kind of like curb appeal for a house, but curb appeal for business districts.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate all of the effort and time that you put in today. I do want to remind you that we are going to be back. We do have a survey for business owners open, and we're talking about door to door. I know Ian has done quite a bit of door knocking to try to get response rates up for our survey for business owners. We are going to hold that open a little bit longer, probably through when we're going to be here in April, because we are planning a specific, as you see up here, business leader focus group for East Point's businesses. We want to talk to them specifically, talk about services, talk about things that might be able to help them, and hear a lot about that. Of course, is a major point of the Economic Development Strategic Plan. But we're also going to be having community open houses. We're looking at hosting one across the street at the LFA, and potentially also one maybe at one of the churches here in the community. So, to mix that up, maybe get in other graphic locations, talk to people. We're going to be doing that in April. We really hope that all of you are here could help us get the word out about all three of these things that are happening right now as well. And other than that, we really appreciate your time today. Feel free, of course, to reach out with any questions that you might have, and we'll let you get on with the rest of your agenda. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Mr. Mayor, you're up.
Work that you put in to getting all this information, compiling the data, and trying to help us with moving forward with our master plan. So thank you.
Councilwoman Scott.
I thought this was absolutely amazing. I think I really appreciate the comments and Ms. Moody made about us trying to figure out some creative ways to actually get residents more engaged in our city and trying to figure out what it is that we can do and what their feedback is that they would like to see in the city of East Point. And I'm going to be looking forward to your efforts on working on that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're fine. I wasn't going to bite your head off. You looked at me like... I just want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you to the Planning Commission. I know that Harvey had a conflict he couldn't get out of, and Margaret Pachadlik was not feeling well tonight. So, but I'm glad that those of us who are here were able to make it. Thank you.
My apologies for arriving late. I'm sure you guys did a great job for our city. I did put a few thoughts in at the end, and hopefully that will help with our city. And I look forward to seeing what we co-create and making East Point a more attractive town that help us build our population, increase our housing, and get more grant dollars from MEDC to see that we need to get that. Since we are RCC city, give us some money now.
Ms. Ulinsky.
Want to thank you guys and thank city administration for everything as well. And honestly, I would like to see maybe once a quarter, I don't know if that's too much, for joint meetings with city council on other topics that we should work together on.
Commissioner Sasek.
I also would like to thank everybody, and we do have a lot of work ahead of us, but anything that's going to benefit this city is worth the effort. Thank you.
I'm going to call her sluggard tonight because she hit it home. Commissioner Moody.
No comments. Everything is well. Thank you.
Commissioner Stokes.
Thank you, and no further comments.
Commissioner Hall Rayford.
Thank you, and no further comments.
I have to commend Commissioner Moody because she said whatever has been on my mind has been on my mind since 2000, and I think we started that first one in 17, maybe before that. It's engagement. You get the few and faithful, and that's it. So kudos to you to point it out because nobody else ever has. Moving on to the last hearing of the public, you have exactly 3 minutes to speak. Please be kind. Does anybody wish to be heard? Does anyone wish to be heard? If you would please write your name on the piece of paper that's hopefully up there, that would be lovely, and you have 3 minutes.
Jennifer Nicholas, East Point resident. I think you all did a wonderful job tonight. It's very inspiring to see you all work together like this. And as far as your observation about getting people involved, I don't know what the answer to that is. Prior to a couple of years ago, I was not aware that there were city council meetings or boards or commissions or anything about a master plan, anything like that. And I don't know what would be the best way to reach me. You know, something in the mail, something that comes to my house, something advertised in a newspaper maybe. Maybe if these surveys had some type of incentive that, you know, your name goes into a drawing and you win a $50 gift certificate, something like that. I don't know, but I do agree with you that it is hard to get people involved because it's not that they don't want to be involved, I feel that they just are not aware. Or, you know, I've lived here for 60 years, and up until a couple years ago, I had no idea that any of this went on in the city. You know, I was aware that we had mayors over the years, but couldn't tell you what they did or didn't even realize that there were opportunities for a resident to get involved in it. So anyways, I really like this firm here. I think they're doing a wonderful job, and I think it was a really good meeting tonight. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? This is the special meeting for the master plan. Okay. That's all right. Nobody else wishing to be heard? Madam, oh my Lord. Mr. Mayor, you're not Suzanne Pixley.
It happens all the time.
Mr. Mayor.
Would someone like to make a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
I went on the record, I did try to avoid those meetings, so I didn't say Madam Mayor very often. Can I get a motion to close the meeting, please?
So moved.
We have motion and support. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall Rayford? Yes. Mr. Stokes?
Yes.
Mrs. Moody? Yes. Ms. Julinski, yes. Ms. Naylor?
Yes.
Chair DeHunt?
Yes. I'd like to invite any member of City Council, if they wish to stay for our meeting, they're more than welcome to stay with us. Otherwise, thank you for your participation tonight.
Chairman DeHunt, could I recommend that if we keep the configuration, but we just move in a little closer to make it easier?
Agreed. And how about we take a 10-minute break and we reconvene at 7:35?